Before we begin tonight's unsettling journey into the forgotten waters of Eastern Europe, take a moment to tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. Your surroundings may feel safe, but as this story unfolds, you might start to see rivers, lakes, and quiet ponds differently. This is not just another tale about spirits or old superstitions. It is a story that bridges the worlds of the living and the drowned. Tonight, we follow a young folklorist whose curiosity leads her into the heart of an old Slavic myth, the Rusalki, the beautiful but deadly water maidens said to lure travelers to their watery graves. And yes, this is a fictional retelling, but inspired by centuries of folklore woven through Russia and Ukraine. So settle in, dim the lights if you dare, and join us as we explore a haunting encounter that blurred the line between myth and truth. Elena Morozova never believed in the supernatural. As a postgraduate researcher in Slavic anthropology, she saw folklore as a reflection of human fear, trauma, and forgotten history, never as literal truth. When a remote village on the Ukrainian border reported strange drownings in a lake long abandoned by locals, Elena thought she had found the perfect field study for her thesis. The villagers spoke of voices at night, of women dancing along the shores when the moon was brightest, of long strands of black hair found tangled in reeds. Elena dismissed them kindly, as scholars do, but she felt an irresistible pull toward the lake. Her grandmother had whispered stories about Rusalki when she was a child, stories she had forgotten until the villagers' trembling voices brought them back. Something ancient lived in their fear, something old enough to survive in memory even if it was erased everywhere else. The lake sat at the edge of a dense birch forest, its surface so still it looked like a pane of black glass. Elena arrived at dusk, carrying only her journal, a lantern, and a small recorder to capture interviews and environmental sounds. Villagers refused to accompany her, insisting the waters woke after sunset. Elena's scientific mind dismissed their warnings, chalking them up to cultural superstition. She examined the waterline, noting depressions in the mud and wreaths of wilted flowers placed as offerings, a ritual she recognized from old Slavic texts as attempts to appease Rusalki during the Rusalki week. But it wasn't even June, she reminded herself. Besides, no one believed these rituals worked anymore. Still, the air felt unnaturally cold as she knelt near the shore, and when a sudden ripple disturbed the surface, she told herself it was only a fish. That night, Elena stayed in the abandoned ranger's hut facing the lake. She reviewed her notes, listening to the villagers' warnings again. They died from love, one elderly woman whispered earlier. From betrayal. From sorrow. Beautiful girls who drowned before their time. They come back thirsty. Elena paused, struck by the phrasing, thirsty, not hungry. In Slavic folklore, Rusalki do not devour bodies, they drain vitality, breath, warmth. They long for the life denied to them. As Elena studied her grandmother's old folktale translations, she saw a repeated theme: Rusalki appear not as monsters, but as heartbreak incarnate. Women wronged by fate, abandoned by lovers, or drowned in despair. If such legends survived for centuries, Elena wondered, could they have grown from a real history of tragedies tied to these waters? Near midnight, Elena stepped outside to breathe. Mist curled over the water, silvered by moonlight. The night was unnervingly silent, no insects, no birds, no whine through the trees. She lifted her lantern and walked toward the pier, planning to take water samples in the morning. That's when she heard it, a faint melody, drifting across the lake. A woman's voice, soft, sorrowful, and achingly beautiful. Elena froze. The sound seemed too clear, too near. She scanned the shoreline but saw nothing. Her mind raced. Villagers sometimes sing laments to honor the dead. Someone must be practicing late, she reasoned. Yet the melody felt as if it came from nowhere and everywhere at once. She pressed record on her device, the lantern trembling slightly in her hand. The voice continued, rising in gentle waves like water caressing stone. Suddenly, a splash echoed across the lake, deliberate, heavy, not the flit of a fish. Elena pointed her lantern toward the source. At first, she saw only fog. Then a shape emerged, a woman standing waist-deep in the water, her hair long and black, clinging like drenched silk to her pale skin. Her white dress floated around her like torn lace drifting on currents. Elena blinked, convinced she was imagining it, but the woman remained, watching her with luminescent eyes. Instead of fear, Elena's first reaction was fascination. She whispered, "Are you real?" The woman tilted her head, as if understanding the question. She lifted one arm, water cascading from it, and beckoned Elena closer. Hypnotic calm settled over Elena's nerves. She felt compelled to take a step forward. But a sudden flutter of movement snapped her trance. From beneath the water, pale hands rose, reaching for the woman's waist like attendants holding their queen. More faces surfaced, silent, expressionless, their hair drifting like ink in the current. Elena gasped, stumbling backward. The figure in white lowered her hand slowly, disappointment shaping her features. The others turned their hollow eyes toward Elena, and she felt an icy rush grip her chest. These were not hallucinations. Not villagers. Not anything human. Elena sprinted back to the hut, slamming the door behind her. Her hands shook as she reviewed the footage, but the recording captured only her voice and the splash, nothing else. She rubbed her temples, dizzy with confusion. Had the Rusalki manipulated her senses? Or did they simply refuse to be recorded? The next morning, Elena returned to the village seeking answers. When she described the woman she had seen, the villagers grew pale. "You should not have gone alone," one man whispered. "They appear to those who carry sorrow." Elena bristled at the implication but couldn't deny the lingering ache in her heart, her recent breakup, the loneliness she tried so hard to mask. Was that why the Rusalka beckoned her? Because she recognized the same wounds? The villagers insisted she leave before nightfall, but Elena refused. "If these spirits exist," she said, "then something binds them here. Something keeps them from moving on." The eldest villager nodded gravely. "Their bones," he said. "Find their bones, and the lake will release them." Returning to the lakeshore at noon, Elena searched the banks for signs of disturbed earth or shallow graves. According to legend, Rusalki often rose from places of unmarked burials, women denied proper rites. Elena found nothing until she noticed the waterline had receded slightly, exposing a muddy slope beneath the pier. Kneeling, she brushed aside sediment, and her hand struck something hard. She dug gently with a stick until fragments emerged, a rib cage, a skull, delicate finger bones tangled in strands of dark hair preserved by the cold water. Elena's breath caught. This was no myth, these were the remains of a young woman left nameless and forgotten. She whispered a quiet apology before covering the bones carefully, promising to return with proper burial cloth. But as she stood, a chill swept over the lake. The air thickened, and the water shifted violently. Elena heard the melody again, only now it was desperate, pleading. She turned to see the Rusalka from the previous night standing at the edge of the pier, her form flickering like a reflection on rippling water. For the first time, Elena saw tears streaming down the spirit's face. The Rusalka stepped closer, her voice trembling. Though Elena could not understand the exact words, she felt the meaning. "Help me. Free me." Elena steadied her voice. "I found your bones," she said. "I want to release you." The Rusalka reached out, fingers trembling, but her skeletal attendants pulled at her shoulders, as if afraid to lose her. Elena prepared a burial rite that evening, using traditional elements she had studied for years: embroidered cloth, braided willow branches, and a ceremonial wreath. As dusk approached, she wrapped the Rusalka's remains with reverence, her hands steady despite the overwhelming fear tugging at her nerves. When she lowered the bones into the earth near an ancient birch, the wind began to stir in spirals, and the trees whispered as if awakening. Elena whispered an invocation of peace, asking whatever forces governed the Rusalki to release the soul trapped in sorrow. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lake glowed faintly, a soft radiance pulsing beneath the water like a heartbeat. The Rusalka appeared again, this time luminous, her edges softening into mist. Elena watched as the spirit lifted her face toward the sky, tears shimmering like pearls on her cheeks. The skeletal figures, once clinging to her, now drifted apart, dissolving into the water like dissolving ink. The Rusalka's hair fluttered weightlessly, shifting from black to a soft green shimmer as the curse loosened its grip. Elena felt warmth spread across her skin, an emotion she could only describe as gratitude. Then the spirit whispered one final word: "Spasibo." "Thank you." Her form scattered into light, rising toward the birch canopy until she disappeared completely. But not all souls were freed. As Elena gazed into the lake, more faces appeared, hundreds, maybe thousands, lingering beneath the surface. Women of all ages, all tragedies, all forgotten stories. Their eyes were hollow, begging for release. The lake was a graveyard of sorrow, and Elena knew she could not save them all. But she could document this place, tell the world what had been lost, and help the village finally bury its ghosts. She stayed until dawn, sketching the faces that appeared, reciting the names the villagers had whispered of long-lost daughters, wives, and sisters. With each name spoken aloud, another ripple broke across the water, as if acknowledging her effort. When sunrise finally broke, the lake transformed. The water, once dark and heavy, now shimmered gold. A faint silhouette of the Rusalka, the first spirit she freed, appeared just beneath the surface, peaceful and smiling. Then she faded, leaving only the reflection of the birch trees swaying in the morning breeze. Elena knew the curse was not fully broken, but a cycle had begun. One by one, perhaps over years, she could uncover the stories that bound these spirits. She felt an unexpected kinship with them, women silenced by tragedy, waiting for someone to hear their voices. Elena left the village with her journals filled, her rational worldview forever changed. She had come to debunk a myth, but instead found herself part of it. Her documentary on the Rusalki would later captivate viewers around the world, but she left out one detail: the soft whisper she heard as she boarded the train, drifting from the lake carried by the morning wind. A voice, gentle and familiar, murmured, "Do not forget us." Elena looked back one last time, promising she never would. And if you ever find yourself near a quiet lake at night, listen closely. Beauty may call to you from the water, but some voices, no matter how enchanting, must never be followed.